Welcome to the Perfume Experience. Hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to another fragrance related review. And today we're going to talk about two fragrances from the house of Khadlaj. And this is the first time we are reviewing this particular house. And I'm talking about their most popular Shiyaaka. This is the Shiyaaka Silver, and then we have the Shiyaaka Blue. So we're going to talk about these two fragrances. But before that, if you're new to this particular channel and you like fragrances, especially Middle Eastern, Indian and designers, then definitely hit the subscribe button, because you on this particular channel will get about 2 to 3 particular reviews about fragrances every week. And plus, if you want to get these on decants, you want to try before you buy them, that's also possible on this link. So stay tuned till the very end. You're watching the Perfume Experience. Let's get going right after this intro. Alright, welcome back. So like I said, we're going to talk about two of these fragrances from the house of Khadlaj, and they kind of look very, very nice. So we're going to talk about the silver one first, because that is the most hyped one, that is the most popular one, and finally it's available in India. So the box kind of comes like this. It's a matte finish kind of a box which has got the silver engraving and the red written, and at the back it talks about Khadlaj, and it's got the notes, and at the bottom it's got some basic information about the pricing and all of that, the batch information. The box is pretty basic, but it's got this nice jacquard finish which is very similar to the bottle. Now on the other hand, the bottle is quite a work. Okay, it really feels very nice. It feels a little bit like the Sultani Amiri, I think one of those Arabian oud bottles. Very nice, very firm. The cap is plasticky, but this is also plasticky, but it looks good. And at the bottom you have this transparent thing where you can actually see the liquid as such, but on the whole they've done a very good job. This is again made in UAE, and this is a 100 ml concentration. The bottles look very similar, both of them are similar. This has got a blue colored layer at the bottom, okay, but the box is slightly different though. They should have probably thought about the naming convention a bit, I feel, because this is the way the blue colored box looks, okay, and the silver should have had the whole thing in silver instead of being black, because they also have gold, okay, but it's easier to identify it just by saying this is red and this is blue, and I think that makes it a lot more easier. But as a naming convention, this is named silver, okay. So we're going to talk about this particular fragrance, and let's see what this is. So if you're thinking this is a summer fragrance, you're looking for a beautiful citrusy summer fragrance, then you're going to be disappointed, because this is not one of those fragrances. This is, in my opinion, a woody, creamy, vanilla type of a fragrance with a little bit of a floral and a little bit of a spicy hint as such, right? So let's do a spray on the screen and just talk about the sprayer. The sprayer is pretty good. It does a big woof kind of a big spray, not a very sharp focus spray, but a more wider kind of a spray, and immediately you get hit by a very creamy velvety texture. Okay, that's the first thing that you notice on this particular fragrance. You are you enter into a world of a very soft, very frail, very light, airy kind of a fragrance immediately, right? And then you feel creamy textures, you feel a bit of vanilla, you feel a bit of woody element, and then you can kind of feel a little bit of a buttery creaminess as such. Okay, and you feel a little bit of a sweetness, mild sweetness coming across into the aroma of this particular fragrance, and that's something that you enjoy absolutely. Okay, so the opening is a little like that, a little bit of a woody kind of an element with a little bit of a creamy texture. And when you start sniffing it a little more closer, you will notice that on the top you will also kind of get light hints of some floral element somewhere in the background. Not right at the top. It's not a floral fragrance at all. It's a definite woody, powdery, aromatic type of a fragrance, but you feel slight hints of floral in somewhere. Now when you look at the box of this particular fragrance, and if you look at the notes, it will talk to you about petite green, rosemary and pepper, okay, which is basically pink pepper. And then in the heart it talks about ylang ylang, and it talks about neroli, okay, and it talks about orris root, and that's where the butteriness comes into picture. It talks about jasmine, but in the base is where there's a lot of woody elements happening. There is cedar, there's vetiver, patchouli and sandalwood. So now you can kind of sense that this is why I called it a very creamy woody kind of a fragrance, because the way the sandalwood comes into the fragrance, the way the cedar is making it a very woody element, and then of course you have the orris butter playing, which is making it all very, very smooth and very beautifully creamy, elegant type of a fragrance, which is going to get you compliments. That is the most important thing about it. This is one of those fragrances that in close encounters, close occasions, you are going to get a lot of attention because it smells very, very good. Now, right at the top, like I said, it's got pink pepper, it's got clear sage and these elements, but still it doesn't have that pepperiness, it doesn't have that spiciness. Though neroli being there, it doesn't have that bitterness, it doesn't have that citrusy element as such, but because it's got ylang ylang, it's got that little bit of the creamy floral element. Jasmine is almost nil, is what I would say. Subtle hints of white floral elements. The petite green and rosemary are supposed to bring a spicy element, but you don't actually kind of sense that. What you get predominantly is the orris butter, which is the note that you would see in many iris based fragrances, right? Like if you look at Prada L'Homme, or if you look at Umo Intense, or if you look at Dior Homme Intense, that is the creamy iris note that you kind of get mixed with a lot of woody elements. So does it sound like iris fragrance? Actually, it kind of does smell like a very much like an iris fragrance. So it is on the lines, I would say, somewhere like the Dior Homme, the Umo Intense, that line of fragrances where you have a nice buttery iris with a good amount of woody elements, and the vetiver and the patchouli, both of them are not very dominant at all. They are very creamy, it's a creamy, beautiful kind of a fragrance. Having said that, this, as you might know by this time, that it's popular because it's an alt of a very popular niche fragrance, and I'm talking about the Amouage Reflection. Now, luckily, Shikhar, my partner, did have a decant of this, and he actually sent me this along with the partial bottles. So I have compared this to the to how it is in terms of the closeness. Now, the primary element, if I were to kind of tell you what is the difference that you feel in the OG, I can smell the peppery element, the spice element a little more prominently. That is something that you will definitely get to know. And then the fragrance becomes very light and airy, and you do sense that patchouli element a little bit more on the original. So that is something that you get. But if you look at the top notes of the fragrance, the rosemary, the peppery element is something that you can definitely smell, and in the heart you do get, or in the dry down you do get that sense of patchouli and vetiver, but a little more of the patchouli. And another thing is, this element happens only in the opening, right? So only in the opening you notice these differences, and that too on close sniffing. But give it about 15-20 minutes time, and in the air you can't really figure out which is which, because they both are almost similar in terms of the scent profile. They kind of spread across the whole way, and they do a good job. Now, another key element is the difference in terms of its performance. Now, the OG, the Amouage Reflection OG, on your skin does easily about 8 hours, okay? 6 to 8 hours easy, and then it continues to be there on your apparel for a little more longer. Whereas the Shiyaaka Silver, what it does is, it projects for the first 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. You will kind of, feel this particular fragrance is there. Then it starts to soften up. It is a soft scent in my opinion. It is not a loud beast mode kind of a fragrance, whereas Amouage is definitely a lot more louder than this, okay? But like I said, that's only in the difference in the first few minutes, and in the later part of the stage, it doesn't really appeal there, okay? But surprisingly, while this can do about 5-6 hours on skin, this will do 8 to 10 hours on apparel. It will kind of feel that you don't have it on you on most times, but it's actually there. It actually smells, it's there on your apparel for easily about 8 to 10 hours. You will be able to sniff on your clothes all the time. It's a pretty good fragrance. Now, this one cost, I think, about 18 to 20,000 rupees for a full bottle. This is coming sub 2,000 rupees in most places, at least that's the price with us. But online I can see it about 2,500 rupees roughly. For that price point, it is a value for money, beautiful kind of a fragrance that you can definitely consider getting, okay? So on the whole, it is not a scent for summers. It is not a scent for outdoor wear as such. It's a scent that you can consider wearing for indoors. It's a scent that you can wear for special occasions, dates, especially close encounters. You want something nice, something that smells complicatedly good and has got an amazing scent profile, amazing scent on the whole. You can definitely consider this. This is lovely as such, okay? So very good fragrance. Like I said, the primary difference is that on the top, those spicy elements that is there is very minimal to nil is what you can kind of think about on this particular fragrance, whereas in the original that is very prominent. The vetiver and patchouli in the dry down is again not very prominent here. It's quite prominent in the original. And of course in the heart note, when you think about jasmine as a floral note, or if you think about ylang ylang or neroli, they're not so very prominent as such, but it's prominent on orris butter, it's prominent on sandalwood, and it's very prominent on cedar, right? So that is what you kind of get in this particular fragrance. Now in terms of, if you look at should you consider getting it, yes, absolutely, this is one for the collection. You should definitely consider getting this particular fragrance. So this is Shiyaaka Silver, and now let's talk about the other elephant in the room. And actually this one is a pleasant surprise. Okay, so a lot of times people don't expect because the other one, the sibling, is more popular, people think this one is not so great. Actually in this case I feel this is a fab fragrance to consider. Okay, now if you look at reviews online, or if you look at a lot of writing for this particular fragrance, people tell you that it is an alt of a lot of blue fragrances, which in my opinion is not the case. Now this is a fragrance that is actually little difficult to kind of relate to in terms of one particular fragrance as such, but there are some nuances of this particular fragrance which are very, very nice. Now let's do a spray of this particular fragrance and I'll tell you what this kind of smells like, and you will notice that the sprayer is very, very good. This is a fragrance, again a woody fragrance. Okay, so both of them, though with the color of blue, do not think this is like a Blue de Chanel or Versace Dylan Blue. It is not that type of a fragrance at all. It's a fragrance again on a woody note, but a slight difference to this is in the right at the opening, this particular fragrance will remind you of this. This is the Al Nashama Caprice, which is an alternate of Yves Saint Laurent Blue Electric, and at the opening, right at the opening, this will remind you of that. And in fact, even Joy, also kind of said the exact same thing, that it reminds of that. In fact, it actually does. But after that, I feel the fragrance moves into a more deeper tone of another woody fragrance that is from the house of Armani, and I feel this is got lot of hints of Armani's Code Absolu. Okay, it kind of smells like that to a lot of time in the air. Now, when you think about this particular fragrance, it talks about aromatic citrus green, okay, floral orris rose, ambery musk, and vanilla. So, like I said, it's got that same woody kind of an effect, but that there is that woody orris butter feeling to it as well, which is that creamy, beautiful thing. But the woody note is a lot more dominant here when you compare to silver. In the silver, the woody note is still lower, though being a woody fragrance. Here, the woody note is a lot more apparent, along with the cardamom note and citrusy notes. Now I feel that's why I said it sounds like Yves Saint Laurent Blue Electric, because that has got a similar note profile of that cardamom along with the citrusy woody element, and that is there. And then you feel that this particular fragrance really transitions somewhere towards the line of Code Absolu for a long in a nice way, and it's so that creamy, beautiful kind of a fragrance. Now people also refer this to Scandal. I have tried Scandal. It has got that sweet vibe, it's got that woody vibe, but I don't recollect, or I can't really say that this is exactly like that, because I kind of sense it this way, right? Now where this particular fragrance differs itself from the silver is this is a lot more louder than this. Now when you think about loudness, and if you think Shiyaaka Silver is here, this is right up there, so probably a little more up there, right, in terms of its projection, its the way it kind of picks up. Now in terms of projection, it does easily about 3 feet, whereas the silver does only about 2 feet. And in terms of projection, I feel it does similar of the 1.5 hours time, but it's pretty loud. It's more apparent than this. Okay. Now the other element is in the dry down, the fragrance is really, really good. It's got that nice woody, creamy texture to it, and it smells really, really nice. The most important thing is this will do at least 6 to 8 hours on skin, and apparel it does even more than that, go about 8 to 10 hours. So you get a full 10 hours of performance on this beautiful fragrance, which has got that nice woody, creamy texture, a little bit like a little sweet, lovely kind of a fragrance. So both are actually pretty surprisingly, like I said, woody fragrances that I've got inspiration from a couple of fragrances. So this could be a Scandal alt. I wish if I had the OG, I could have kind of tried and told you exactly if it does or not. But like I said, the opening is very much citrusy, cardamom type of a thing. Though cardamom is not mentioned, it talks about a green note. Okay. that could be probably coming from cardamom being green as well. So, right. But other than that, this is a lovely fragrance which has got a nice woody element, loud. This is softer, creaminess, both the places. The orange butter is remaining the same, a lot more woody and a lot more bolder. This is softer, more, complementing. Now, this I feel is a fragrance that you can wear for parties, you can wear for get-togethers. You want a fragrance that people want you to know, yes, then this is it. But if you want a fragrance for more softer, closer encounters, then this is this, right? So that's what I think about these fragrances, and they are definitely getting, fragrances that you can consider getting blind buys. You can consider adding them into your collection because they are both worth the prices. There is also the gold one. We can definitely consider looking at that if you want us to review that as well. But other than that, if you want to try these fragrances, both of them are available on decants. You can definitely try. In case you're interested in retail, that also we can kind of, help you with it, right? So if you kind of like this particular video, hit the like button, subscribe and share, and watch out for this channel for more fragrances coming, because we are going to review a lot of other fragrances. Let's say Karuz Blue Spice and also Gate from this particular house. We also have Posh Mirage and all of that. So all of that coming soon in the next few weeks. So stay tuned till then. Take care. I'll see you on another video. Up until that time, bye now.